The darkness.
I haven't forgotten about Mythical Awakened Kris, so let's review him right now.
Darkness.
7K Dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We will start immediately with Arena, okay? And I'll be putting my heroes, items and builds in the bottom left corner so you can refer to it whenever necessary. So you can see here that my Kris actually goes first, and that is also partially because I have given him skill use on traits and jewel. This increases his chances of using his skills much earlier in the stage, and this is because we want to actually land the death on the enemy. However, a lot of teams now do have death resistance, so it's kind of like, you know, kind of defeats the purpose of him having skill use, but he does have a turn decrease, even though that turn decrease skill is only on one target. So my Tara also has skill use increased by 10%. So I was thinking whether this actually goes by an order or maybe it's just random chance. You know, everyone has a base chance to go first, and those with higher skill use chance will be ranked higher, kind of thing. Kind of like how you boost your own lethal rate and crit rate for your heroes. So you will also see that I have given my Kris the height accessory. So what does height actually do? This took me a while to figure out, because height seems like an effect that prevents you from being targeted, but however that is only partially true. Height actually protects Kris from single target attacks, and it also protects him from being countered. Okay? So you see that Orca's speed attack here actually targets the Truth and he doesn't counter, and if you realize previous skills as well, Kris's skills were not countered because he was in the height effect. So in a way it can be pretty useful, especially for those heroes who have the skill use increased chance, so that even if they continuously use their skills, right, once they have been cooled down, they will not be subjected to counter. And in this case, in these matches, in this part of the arena ranking, okay, Orca is the main counter, and Orca has a very powerful counter effect attack. The effect attack is so strong, and a lot of people give him attack twice on basic attack. Same goes for Kris. Opponent's Kris probably has second highest counter, and his effect attack with crit weapons is also very strong. So having this height on Kris actually benefits your Kris a lot, protects him from being damaged too early, and helps him to not break into immortal form that early as well. So ultimately it basically increases his survivability, and that's very important because Kris is a very bulky character. So preventing him from getting all this random damage from single target attacks is a good thing, and especially right now when there are so many heroes that use single target attacks. Single target attacks have a very high damage multiplier. If you look at Kris's own single target attack, it's 800%. Okay, it basically can guarantee one free kill. Same goes for Truth. I think Truth has a single target attack as well. So height for 7 turns actually prevents Kris from being subjected to all these. And I think it is a very useful effect if you put it in that context. And that said, my Kris is also on counter and also on crit, Mythical Awakened crit weapons. Okay, Mythical Awakened crit weapons increase the debuff cast rate of the hero by 5% each. So if you have maxed out that stat for both his weapons, it will be 10% more. And I think that is very important for a hero like Kris, who relies a lot on his debuff casting. However, of course, in this case, there are so many heroes with 90% death resist already. So you may find it very difficult to land the death because his death skills, his percentage chance of landing the death is only 50%. And even if you include the trait, even if you buff it up with your myth items, it will probably reach about 70% in that case. And it's still not enough to overtake the 90% death resistance on the enemy's team. And he tends to be pretty bulky as well, as you can see on whether on the opponent's team or my team. Kris tends to be the second or last one standing, and that is also because of his immortality, so which is something you don't want to proc too early. And all those builds which I talk about is actually geared for him to not break into immortality so fast. And I also given him lifesteal on his jewels. I don't think it is a very game-changing kind of jewel, because lifesteal jewel is ultimately nerfed, I think, to about 20%. However, it does make a difference sometimes because he can heal back quite a lot, especially if he lands his crit hit. So getting back any form of HP, whether 3000, 4000, I think it's still pretty significant currently in the meta, because HP, the higher your HP, the better your hero's bulk is. And getting any form of HP back, healing any amount, I think is very good.
Darkness. Protect. I'll find a way to save us. Is it too much for you? Is it too much for you?
So in this third match, we open off with Tara's Skil. So a lot of new players probably are not too sure what Suffocation does. So Suffocation is the effect whereby the enemies will lose 10% of their max HP whenever they do an action. So whether they receive damage or whether they deal damage, use a skill, use a basic attack, anything, okay, basically anything they do, they will have their HP reduced by 10% for up to 5 times. So that is pretty significant because it is a debuff that does not care about your defense. Okay, it only cares about your HP. So the higher the enemy's HP, the more damage, the more reduction is gonna take place. And in this case, it is very good because in this current meta, the HP is so important. Like I said, if you have an effect that reduces HP like this, it is very game changing for you. And against this Dylan's team right now, hopefully if you face any of these kind of teams, you will be able to kill Dylan's as soon as possible. Because Dylan's, once he gets into his awakened form, he can have the potential to land effect attacks on 3 of your heroes, and that is very damaging and pretty scary. You don't want that to happen. And yeah, so over here you just saw that the Electrify cleared up. And I think debuff statuses right now are negligible. Of course they can change the match for you, but in a sense it actually freezes some of the heroes either on your opponent's team or your team, so that the strategies will change. Cause it only lasts for 2 turns and 2 turns go by very quickly. So if those important heroes are landed with the debuff or status effect, it could change the tide of the match. And interestingly here, I managed to land the death on the enemy Kris, which is amazing. Because that is so rare right now, honestly, with all the death resist. And I still managed to land it. Kris's effect attack does have 80% chance to land death. So I think I kind of bypassed that. And I killed him with death, which is pretty amazing, considering I haven't been seeing that too often. So we're against Sephiroth. He should totally use the Mercure icon.
Is it too much for you? Is it too much for you?
So Truth goes first this time, which is refreshing. Truth doesn't really do any damage over here because the enemies are all geared with Guardian Ring. So let me talk about the Guardian Ring and Willful Ring in this case. The Guardian Ring is kind of like a delayed damage system, while the Willful Ring kind of gives your hero a 1.5 times HP, because once your hero's HP drops below half, he or she will heal back completely. So it's kind of 1.5 times. And to be honest, I'm still not very sure when or what hero should use what kind of ring. We are still in the midst of figuring out the meta, so once we have more thoughts on that, or once I have more thoughts on that, I will make a video about it. Currently, most players are using whatever they brought over before the reboot, so a lot of combinations you see right now are things that have been used in the past, so they may not be the most ideal combination sometimes. For example, Tara is actually using a Willful Ring, so maybe I should have changed that up into a Guardian Ring, but she has the Willful Ring along with the Isabella's Crimson Blood, which reduces damage from 4 to 5 target attacks, which is pretty uncommon currently, but there are still heroes who are using that, especially, actually most heroes right now in the meta still have about 4 to 5 target attacks.
Take a good look. This is my ultimate power.
Time to end. A holy extermination. Of the heavens.
So in this match, it looks like I am on the losing end because his heroes are still having very good health, probably geared very well. So that's the thing about this whole system right now, whereby it's really skewed towards your stats and gear. So the higher your defense, the more damage you can do, the better. And it's less about RNG, I would say, because you don't have too many turn decrease, you don't have too many shield decrease or whatever. There's not even any shield in this game anymore. So yeah, it's really how you gear your heroes. The stronger your weapon, the better. I think even jewels now make a lot of sense because they not only give stats, they do give certain substats that can be added up to make a big difference.
Can't stop me.
Time to end this. A holy extermination. Of the heavens.
Darkness engulfed in light. Awaken. Can't stop me.
Heavenly light.
So my Kris is actually out of Immortal this turn, which means I will be left with Freya. And it is honestly very tight, this match. And I just want to say that this Kris single target, like I said, is 800%, so it has a very high chance that it will kill. And he targeted my Kris, by the way, so that was -1 turn, and my Kris died. Even though his Kris is also out of zombies, so I'm super close to dying my Freya. So I'm not sure what gear his Kris was on, but if his Kris actually landed a crit, I think I would have died. So yes, that's all I have to say for these 4 matches of Kris in Arena. Do let me know what you think of him in the comments. And I've also released the review video for Freya. You realize I did not mention Freya at all in this video. So do check that out. It will have more information about Freya and her equipment. Thank you so much and see you.